Noise you couldn't quite locate or explain. Noise you couldn't quite locate or explain.
Hello, I am the Ronin. Hello? Hello, I am the Ronin Pawn, and welcome to a twitch.tv/Ronin Pawn live stream on twitch.tv/Ronin Pawn. We're coding again, Hologram One. How do you feel about that?
Couldn't quite locate.
Listen, I'm getting out of this whole live streaming YouTubing thing. I mean, I've been out of the YouTubing for a bit already, but I'm getting out of this whole live streaming business. It's not working out. I don't see any reason to keep going on. You know, people just keep throwing money at me anyway. So, you know, just as long as the Lord, rather, keeps making sure that I've got clothing and a roof over my head, you know, as long as the teachings of Jesus hold true, fuck it. I'm not into this whole live streaming business, chasing people down, making content people want to watch. That's not where it's at for me. Where it's at for me is in this window here with the code and whatnot. That's apparently where it's at for me. I really am. Like, I'm at the end of the line for live streaming. I don't think I'll stop live streaming. I just think that I won't give a shit anymore. I won't fool myself with the idea that, you know, I'm a professional live streamer. I'm putting on a show. No. I'll put on a show when I put on the show. But these streams, just gonna be whatever. That's what I'm thinking anyway. I don't know where things are gonna go. It's just how I've been feeling lately. You'll never stop streaming because you literally can't without dying. That's possible. Yeah, I'll have to keep streaming just so that the platelets don't dry up and everything. But, you know, in terms of the trying part, I'm not gonna try anything. That's what's that been about? It all feels so, like, life in general just feels so frivolous and needless, and all of the things that you could be doing seem so, why bother? And it's not a depressive statement, it's a very liberating statement as far as I'm concerned. I don't know, it's just where I'm feeling right now. We'll see as time goes on, but as time does go on, or as time has not gone on yet, what we're dealing with today is some of the old Python coding, where I've been developing my own library that makes Python's tkinter, usable. And I've added a whole new class to my library that has enabled a whole bunch of things that I'll have to, like, you won't even see them. Look, I'll start the program up, and if you've been here before, you'll be like, so nothing's changed, right? A lot has changed. A lot has changed, and a lot has gotten a lot better. But it's very hard to see. And it's also, like, code that you can use. And you can use it, too, because, the current incarnation is not up yet. But I have a GitHub for this thing, and someone's opened an issue already. An issue? One contributor? I'm the contributor. No, issues. 0? You're wrong if I reload. I swear somebody opened an issue. Oh, yeah, okay, somebody opened an issue. And it was me. I made an issue, and I'm yelling at myself about it. But I don't think I think I'm wrong. I think it's not actually a bug. I think I was saying that it's a bug. It's not actually a bug. It's just an implementation error. I'm gonna hack that computer and just steal all that code. You don't have to. It's here. It's here. You can download it. Well, not the latest stuff. I'm still working on it and testing it. And I'm gonna hold it hostage for some big pharma, says Hologram One. That's the thing. If you just give everything away, there's nothing anybody can hold hostage. I'm telling you, I'm just giving up on life in general. It just seems like such a frivolous, wasteful kind of a endeavor, you know? You're going to waste all your time like struggling and fighting. People out there, the entrepreneurial spirit in America. Everything's about the entrepreneurial spirit, you know? There's great lauding and putting up on pedestals of people who try and start businesses. And, you know, it's just like an incredibly selfish endeavor, first off, inherently. Most all of what we do is. But, you know, just like the amount of energy that goes into that and the amount of just kind of beehive activity of head and belief and hope and dreams. And it's just like, you know, I'm not a young man anymore. That game is not for me. Not interested in this life business y'all are on about. I got a different way of living life. And it doesn't involve me chasing down any dreams. So Guiable is my library here, the project to make Python's tkinter suck considerably less. And where it stands today is I've added 2 new classes to it. Yes, we're in Guiable now. So the first class is a windowable. Everything in my class is a somethingable. Well, not in the classes. I should make a somethingable at the base, and then everything can inherit from there. But we've got a windowable class, and the windowable class makes windows possible. Not that tkinter doesn't already do that, but tkinter just doesn't do it well. And I do it well. In fact, I think I can shorten my code right here, right now. I don't think that needs to be there. Let's start it back up and see if it needed to be there. Does it need to be there? I might have tab width, tab height. It needs to be there. Okay, that was a different incarnation of it I needed to... Hello, Jim, Pawnee, how you doing? I'm a programmer. How you been doing? I was just thinking about you recently. Because I was just thinking about shouting at someone and calling them Jim. And I was like, where's Jim these days? Jim, he's not a, what is it? He's a starship captain, not a doctor. You can't buy me. Damn it. Hot dog man.
You can see through windows.
Hey, Rex. Thank you for the cheer. Did you know you can see through windows, he said in a Chinese woman's accent. Well, you can't see through... Oh, well, actually, yeah. You know what we really don't need on screen here is live split while I'm doing the development for it. You know, it'll be off screen just enabling what we're doing here, but there's the program. You can't see through this window. tkinter doesn't really support alpha concepts natively, the ability transparencies. But you can force some through using, you know, the operating system. I'm trying to force as few through as possible, however. You didn't think I was actually... you didn't think you were actually asking me a question that would send me off on something, did you, Rex? But I am using transparency and alpha in one way. And I think it's a common standard way. I'm trying to develop where I'm not using code that's like Windows-centric for this. I'm trying to make it so that it's cross-platform compatible on Linux and Mac and stuff like that, just by building within tkinter's library and not doing anything that tkinter doesn't seem to support natively, because tkinter is cross-platform. So if I try and dodge and weave within tkinter, then I'll have a 90% chance of making something everybody can use. Jim is talking about Japanese porn. I'm here, Pawn, says Jim. Definitely not a doctor, possibly a starship captain. Also, that was Japanese Pawn. That was definitely not Chinese. Was it? You think that was the Japanese woman's voice? It sounded very... it sounded harsher than she usually sounds. Maybe she's in a bad mood today. Somebody get the Japanese woman, like, a coffee? Is that what Japanese people are? What do they like? Get her some Suku Mo Mayaki. Sukuyo Sukuyo Mayaki. It says Sukuyomi Moon Phase. Get her one of those. It was a good series. I enjoyed it. And yeah, that's definitely Japanese porn. Pawn. It's pawn is what it is. Rex, you caught me for my last live stream ever. I'm not going to be a live streamer anymore. I was just telling Hologram One, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's just stupid. Why put all this energy and effort into anything? Life and
dog man.
Super morning phase.
Super morning phase. Yeah, okay, that was her again. Japanese woman. I think she's waking up too. It sounded a little bit clearer that time. You know what? They smoke a lot over there, so she's probably a big, lots of things in her. What was I saying? Kamikaze, Yamasaki, Nagasaki. It's Tsukuyomi. Tsukiyomi. Duh. Duh. You know how to spell random Japanese words that you don't know the definitions of? And I don't, what Tsukuyomi is. I think there's like a Japanese pizza that sounds like that. I don't know. I'm coding. Quit distracting me from dryly explaining my reams and reams of boring-ass Python code. I don't want any entertainment happening on these live streams. I'm getting out of the business. I'm sick of it. I'm done with it. I'm done. Japanese pizza? Yeah, Japanese pizza. There's cigarettes and coffee grinds on it. Because that's what they're into over there, I hear. And fish. Still waiting for my chance in life to try a tuna fish pizza. Because it's a thing in the Europes, and it sounds very good, and we just don't make it over here. Actually, that reminds me. Today I made, for the first time ever, I made my own tortillas. And the last two of them came out right. Little bit kind of like undercooked, I guess, but I don't think that, I should have cooked them more. It's just if you want them crisp and that kind of thing, then, you got to add the oil in significant amounts and then just keep it frying. And that would probably help it, but I think it's like perfect because if you make them and you leave them soft, then you could like later come and wrap something up in them and then put that in the pan and crisp it up a little bit more. But yeah, the last two of them that I poured worked. The ones before that started out, one as like a cookie, because the batter was too thick, so I thinned the batter out. Next one came out as a pancake, because the batter was too thick, so I thinned the batter out. Next one came out as a thin pancake, so I thinned the batter out. And then the last two of them came out perfect, and they're just perfect tortillas, exactly like tortillas should be, or at least like they should look. And then the last one I fucked up, because I thinned it out again. I thinned it out a third time, because, bottom of the pan, there's lots of little crap down there. It's where all the sediment is gathered. So I figured, I'll thin it down a little bit more. And that one was just so watery that I couldn't even flip it. Just, But yeah, I made my own tortillas today.
You can't buy me hot dog man.
Regularly.
Cookie con carne is perfecto, kami.
I think she was Italian. Cookie con carne is perfecto, kami. Oregano. Rosemary. Those are things Italians say. I think that was the Italian voice. They have pizza in Japan. They have pizza everywhere, and it is not good, by the way. Like, I've had pizza in Korea. They don't know what a pizza is. Like, they make a pizza that's based as, like, it's pizza, but it's something familiar that they knew, and then they're like, oh, I know what a pizza is. Then we'll just take that, and we'll make it. That's not a pizza. We remake it's not a pizza. I'm sorry, Korea. You don't know what a pizza is. That's not how you do it. But, if you're in Korea, why the hell are you eating pizza? We were there for, like, 45 days, so try everything, including Korean pizza. It's not pizza. It's not. And they're trying to. They're trying to make pizza. It's not pizza. Cookie con carne is perfecto, though. They came out like, little wheat, I don't know, cow patties, like if a cow had a little bit of diarrhea going on, just kind of, it came out liquidy, but then it splatted down, and it was, that's basically what a cow patty is. So it was a wheat cow patty is what it was, the first one. And then the rest of them, they got better and better as time went on, but now I know the consistency. I was going off of a recipe online, first one to come up on Google, and they had me putting in 2 cups of flour and 3/4 cups of water. And I think what these people are is stupid. And I think what they do is they make a dough. and then they like roll it out, and then like shape it and then roll it out into a tortilla, and then they throw it in the pan and then cook it. It's a tortilla. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the way that they make them. I don't know. It's a tortilla. You make it like a crepe, don't you? You use a batter. It's not a dough. You use a batter. You pour it, the liquidy batter, right on the pan, and it immediately starts turning into. That's how you do it, you stupid Americans. Jesus God. So I just kept watering it down until I had a batter, and then I was able to make it a thin batter too, like maybe a little thinner than you'd make paper mache out of. So in case you want to make your own tortillas, it's really easy. You know, I mean, it's flour, salt, water, oil, done, baby. And you don't got to go to the store and buy bread, which was why I did it. In China, they don't use pork or beef. It's nasty, says Rex Skates. On their pizza? Chinese pizza? Is that what you're talking about? Or you mean the cookies? Because you brought up cookies and con carne. Cookie con carne is perfected. Wait, so cookie con carne would be cookies with beef. Have you had cookies with beef, Rex? What the hell are you talking about? Con carne y leche y queso y leche. Damn it, I can't say it. Cookie con carne y queso y leche. Yes, con carne y queso y leche. With beef and cheese, no, with meat and cheese and milk. Con carne, I'm sorry, it's a thing. It's a thing that my buddy Greg would say, and I don't know where he got it, if he got it from anyone, but it flows right off the tongue when he says it. I can't. Con carne, queso y leche. Con carne y queso y leche. Con carne y queso y leche.
Bye bye all, get hold of me have some web work if you want.
Okay, I will do, or I won't, I don't know. You'll see. Check your email. I'm just giving up on life. Why has everybody got to like try? It's so tiring. They're trying things and doing things, running around, this and that. Just relax, man. Have a beer. Program some Python. That's all you need to do. You know, things aren't going to fall apart if you don't live stream anymore. This is my code. And then these are my pants, and now they're off. This is my code. So I now have a windowable class, which makes a window, and it makes specifically a override direct window, which means it has no top bar. And the other thing about override direct is that if you make a tkinter window using override direct, you will not get like a little thing down here where, you know, you can click on it and it'll do things. That just doesn't come with an override direct window. Basically, when you tell a window to override direct through tkinter, it thinks of the window as like a tooltip window or a window in a program that doesn't get its own tab. So if you make your whole program out of a window like this that's override direct, you're not going to have it like work on over there on the taskbar, and it's not going to show up in the tab menu and stuff like that. And so it creates a lot of issues. So how is it that I've got an override direct window that has a taskbar entry, and that has a tab menu entry? Because there's split RP running right now. Doesn't look like the other programs, does it? What I've got here is a windowable class, where when you make the window, you get yourself a window like this. You can bind in a draggable area within your user interface so that you can say, I want the top bar to be draggable. If you're like me, you'll say that I want everything that isn't an interactable thing to be draggable, and then you can drag your window from anywhere. The way that this works is this is actually two windows right here. There's the one that's actually got the program in it, and there's the one down there on the taskbar, and yes, my nails are long and gorgeous and beautiful, and I'm not cutting them. So this is a second window running down here that is representing this window, and you'll see when you mouse over it that the real Ronin Pawn logo pops up, because that's just the image that I stuck in there for it to have something when you tab over it, because if you didn't, then it wouldn't have anything in it. In fact, if you didn't, here's how it would look. Where's the where do I do all of this stuff? Settings, child labels, it's a load tab image. So if I just like that, if you don't load in a tab image, then this is what your program will look like. It'll just be the top bar of an empty window, and that's going to be your program in memory when you're looking at it like that. So I've created a function where you can load a tab image in. getting this to work and getting it to actually load the tab image in is a bit of a trick, because this window is invisible. It is also constantly minimized, but trying to keep it off the screen and trying to keep you from seeing things like jumping around on screen, like when you unminimize or minimize when you click on it, making sure that this window doesn't pop up, or rather that you can't see that it did pop up, is a whole big deal. It's a whole big thing, and I figured it all out for you so that you don't have to worry about it if you're using my library here to build your application. So yeah, when you click on this window, even though it's not the window, you minimize, it unminimizes. Now here's an issue that arises when you're doing something like this. What if I like tab out of the program into another program? Now when I click on this button, what should happen is that window should come to the front. But oh, it does now. That was a whole issue. That was a giant, like, hour and a half maybe trying to figure out how am I going to make. In fact, no, I went to bed with that problem in my mind, going, how am I going to solve this? And I laid in bed awake until I solved it, and then I went to sleep, and I woke up the next day and fixed it, put it into the code. But yeah, that's a bit of an issue there, because the way that this is working is this window, whenever you click on it, it, comes out, and then it immediately minimizes itself. It's invisible, so you don't see any of that happening, but this thing is almost always minimized. It's very rarely actually on screen in the invisible state. So what happens, you click on it, and then it has to decide, okay, is the program that I'm controlling, which is this one, minimized or is it not minimized? If it's not minimized, then I'll minimize it. If it is minimized, then I'll unminimize it. And that's very simple and clean and straightforward and obvious. But when you get to this issue, where now it needs to be able to, when I click on it, also evaluate, is the program not minimized, which would be true here, but is also not the front top-level window. And that's tricky, because it's very easy to do if you import extra classes, is the thing. If you import another class that's Windows-specific, WinGUI32 or Win32 GUI or something like that, if you import classes that come with tkinter to do that thing for you, then not a big deal. But that's going to be a Windows-centric way of doing it. And I don't know that this is going to work on Mac and Linux, but I'm trying to code in ways that don't, rely upon Windows-centric libraries or methods. So the method that I came up for this is actually a simple timer. It's a simple timer that is literally when you lose focus on the window, because tkinter is able to detect when you lose focus on the window. So if I lose focus on the window by clicking, I'll just put it here so you can see it, clicking here, I've lost focus on the window. The moment that I lose focus, we set, and it's down here in the code, wait, this is the wrong one, in GUIable, it's down here in the code, right here on lost focus. Self.lostFocus equals time plus 0.4. We set a time when the event took place that I lost focus, and I add a little bit less than half a second to it, 0.4 of a second, 400 milliseconds. I add that to it, and then when we go to click down here, I simply do a check to see if the current time is greater than this time. And if it is, then I'll just minimize. But if it isn't, then I know that we lost focus on the window, we haven't minimized it, and, it's already open and it's behind something, and so I'll just bring it to the front. That was as simple a solution as that is. That took me a long time to come to, because I was looking for a better way, and if someone knows of one, let me know, but I've already looked into a lot of them, so you let me know, and then I'll probably shoot you down and say, yeah, that won't work, or that's not cross, platform compatible, or something like that. I went deep into this, so I've arbitrarily chosen 0.4 of a second, which means you can do something like this. If I click fast enough, then you can lose focus and then minimize it when you click on it. But if you're not trying to do that, okay, then it's going to behave normally. You're going to click on the thing and it's going to pop up, because it's 0.4 of a second. So it's right. I chose 0.4 because it's right on that edge of where it's like it feels perfect. There is one, misbehavior of this, which is that if I have focus on the window, and then I hold on this button down here, when I release, it should minimize it. It doesn't, because we're timing 0.4 of a second for when we lose focus on the window. And when I click down here, I have lost focus on that window. So that's one little like bug on that, is that if you hold the button down here and then release, then it's not going to minimize like it would if it were any other program. For example, if it were this guy and I could hold down, and then when I release, it'll minimize like it should. That's not going to work. There are some concessions to be made here around being able to use this override direct window in the way that I want to, and that I think a lot of other people want to, because honestly, the graphical appearance of T. Kinter's stuff is just ugly, and it's inherited from Windows, and if it's fine with you, then it's fine with you, but if it's
또 afternoon 뽕.
There we go. My Phantom Power box is dying, or losing cable connection, or dying. Because, I mean, it's quiet right now, too. Well, I got a birthday coming up, so, people need things to buy for me. Maybe I'll, it's always awkward. You try and help people out when your birthday comes around. Like, just tell them something to buy, and then they don't have to think about it. Oh, wow, that is such low audio. God. Yeah, so somebody buy me a Phantom Power unit for my birthday. Happy birthday, Sister Macy, and thank you. It's a bit early, but half a month away. I'm dead middle of the month. I'm a May 16th baby. Mid-May child. So all of the things, I don't know how long that there's been no audio because, I was alone here apparently. Jim and Rex pissed off. So I don't know how much that I said wasn't heard. But I now have the settings window, and it drags. And you do this, you click the thing, and it's up and down, and I fixed there's issue where you go like that, and then you click back, so I lift all the children. There's a lot of things that I said that maybe didn't work because of the, I've been talking about, I already said it during this live stream, I'm done with this live streaming business. It's just too much headache, hassle, nuisance, bother. I'm just done with it, okay? I don't need this in my life. You know what else I don't need? Just anything else, basically. Any pursuing activity, any, accomplishing kind of activity. I'm just done with it. I mean, writing code, that's just fun. I'll do that. But, anything where I'm trying to... No, I'm not trying. I'm done with trying. I am done with trying. I've had enough trying. Okay? As Yoda said, try or try not, there is no try. There's no try. I'm not trying anymore. I'm not going to do it. I'll do it, but I'm not trying. I'm not trying. I refuse. I'm over it. But yeah, so I've got a little window now that pops open for the settings. These are all classes that I've built before.
I don't need your handouts.
Whoa!
I'm an adult.
Bleed purple 1000, bleed purple 1000, bleed purple 1000, bonus 300.
Bonus 300 conquistly bled. She was trying to say bleed purple. Whoa, Dramatian. Damn, thank you. And with the bleed purple means I get an extra bonus double with the bits. I'm not trying. I'm done with trying. So if you're trying to pay me so that I'll try, I'll take your money. I'm not going to try. I'm done with trying in my life. Thank you, Dramatian. The purple bleed, they give you extra 10%. You just give me $30, and they threw $3 on top. That's $33 for me. That's a case of beer, pack of cigarettes, and a blowjob from a whore who's got a tooth in the middle that kind of scrapes as it goes by, but just one. That's a weekend. Thank you. That is it's a party this weekend for me, Jermaine. The whore, the beer, Thank you very much. So yeah, there's my app. I got the little settings window there, and I got thoughts, I got plans, I got ideas for what I want to do with this, because since I can skin everything and make it look cool, I could also do an animation. And I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll have this little settings window here. I'll have it be something that kind of half sticks out, just a little bit sticks out along there, as long as it needs to be in order to, hold all of the different configurable options, which these are not complete. I just was testing the space and working with it. It's not a complete list of the settings that need to be. But so I'm thinking, as long as that needs to be, I'll just have a sliver of it poking out over here. It'll drag around as you drag it. And then when you click the button, it won't just pop it out. It will slide it out. Huh? That'll look cool, right? Be a little little extra thing I can do, and that doesn't even sound hard to me. That's an easy little animation. All you got to do is control the width of the of this window over time. So over the course of like half a second, you know, add one. You add how many ever you need to make it the width that you want, and as it slides out, all of this stuff will be bound to the right side of the window, so that when it closes and when it opens, it will, you know, all stay in the same place as it's closing and opening, and then it'll be easy. It'll look cool. It'll look cool. It's my plan for the settings bar on that. But yeah, the addition to the library here is the windowable class and the childable window class. So let's go ahead and walk through them and see if there's any extra code that I've left in there. It's a good chance for me to do that and to just talk through my process and explain what's going on here if I can remember it. So when we instantiate a windowable class is a tkinter window. So tk.tk is what you call in order to just make a window. So we're making a regular standard old window. And then we're giving it, you want to pass in the geometry. And if you don't pass in any geometry, it will assume a size of 200 by 200. It will not go out of its way to put a special position on that. It'll just pop it open wherever the operating system decides to throw it open. And then you have a place where you can also pass a title in. And this is all very like convenient and helpful because it's just a couple of lines of code. But it's kind of annoying to see that every time you make a tkinter window. You make the tkinter window, and then you tell the window .geometry, and then window.title, and you load all of this information in line by line by line. In this class, you can pass the geometry and the title in the instantiation call. Then I'm setting up some variables that it needs to hold on to. Tab width, tab height. Now, tab width, tab height, that's kind of a bad name. I might come up with some better names for that. But what that's talking about is this image. This image I'm calling the tab image because that's where it's, really, that's why it's there. That's why I support having an image here, is when you hit Alt-Tab, or when you mouse over down here, you'll see that little image pop up. So the tab width and tab height gets calculated a little bit later to being half the width of the actual tab image and tab height for the convenience of calculations, but we'll get to that. Self.lostFocus is equal to time, which is interesting. Again, maybe not the best names for variables at this point, but the idea is when you lose focus, we track the amount of time, or we track the moment when you lost the focus. As I was saying before that I don't know if anybody heard, the way that I keep track of whether or not we should either minimize this when I click down here, or if we've lost focus, whether we should just bring it to the front. The way that I, keep track of that is by measuring time. So if I do it real fast, then it'll actually minimize because I've broken the system. 0.4 seconds, that's how long you've got. So that's where we're instantiating the variable that's going to hold that. Child list is going to be a list of any window that has bound itself to this window. For example, this one is bound to this one, and any object that's in the child list is going to be moved, going to be dragged when you start dragging this. It's also going to be pulled to the top when you gain focus back, so that, the windows travel with the master window, so to speak. And then self.lockHandle is, again, this. I need to come up with better names. So I'm calling this the taskbar handle, and apparently I'm calling the image within it the tab image. So yeah, I need to come up with better naming convention for this, so it's clearer. But the lock handle is a way of, locking the handle. I think it has to do with whether or not to allow this window, because it is its own window that's acting as the tab handle for this, whether or not we allow this tab handle to maximize without being minimized again, or rather to become regular, to just get big, like when you restore. De-iconify is what it's called in tkinter. So whether or not this is going to be allowed to de-iconify. It is allowed to de-iconify when I click and start dragging, because right now I am dragging the invisible window that is that along with me, which enables that. being able to slide it from one screen to the other. It travels with you, it stays with that wherever it goes. So that's the lock handle. That's why we've set that. So then we start by calling the initialization for just starting up a regular tkinter window, which is what this is. So when we call the super.initialization, that's what we're saying. We set the override direct to true, which is what takes the top bar off of this window, along with taking the size handles and stuff that allow you to do, stuff like that. That takes that off also. That's actually interesting. That I'll have to think about. I'll either have to have other classes or change the way that I support things for having like a top barless window, but that also has drag handles, I guess. I think I'll just invent my own drag handles, probably. That's the way I've gone so far with this. So we set it to override direct, which takes off the top bar and the drag handles and changes it into that kind of window. Then we set the title equal to the title, because we passed it in here. We passed in the title that we want for the window, which is split RP, as you can see down here. The geometry that we passed in, which tells us the width and height as well as the X and Y position on the screen, gets set to the object, gets set to the window ourselves. And then we instantiate our taskbar handle, which is this window that's going to represent us on the taskbar. And we make that a TK top level, which is different than a TK.TK. TK.TK is a window, but a top level window allows you to, it can just basically be a TK.TK window, where it's just a window. But a top level window allows you to bind it to another window and to say that this window is supposed to be, if it's up, if it's on screen, it's supposed to be on top of this window. So it's not supposed to get lost behind this window. If this window's up, then it's supposed to be on top. And the idea of a top level is for things like settings, configuration windows, for option menus, for dialogues where you're, either telling the user something or asking them something. You need that window to stay on top of the application because it doesn't get its own handle down here. Not necessarily, that kind of window might not get its own handle down here. So if it falls behind the application, you'd actually have to drag the application off of the window that's within it. So top level window is what our taskbar handle is going to be. And then we set the same title that we set to our window to there, because this is the one where we're actually going to see that name, since it is a separate window just representing us on the taskbar. Then we establish the taskbar geometry. Okay, so taskbar geometry, I'm borrowing the geometry after it's been set from this window. So whatever we set this window to, we're going to start by taking that and loading it into a new variable called taskbar geometry. Then we're going to edit that, because we don't want any width or height on this window, at least not yet. If you don't load in a tab image like I've done here, which is why you're seeing the image there, if you don't call the function that I wrote that allows you to do that, then we just want a 0 by 0 empty, just the top bar in the tab menu. So, but we do want the end of the geometry of this one, which is to say its X and Y coordinates. So I'm going to set the taskbar handles geometry to 0 by 0, which is the width and height, and then plus the X and Y coordinates that we're inheriting from the main window, from whatever our parent is. So I do that by splitting the data off and taking it, and don't worry about it. Then we set the attributes of the taskbar handle window, which needs to be invisible. We set it an alpha state, and we set the alpha state to 0. Alpha is, the see-throughness, the transparency of it. So when it's at 0, it's completely invisible. Then I tell the taskbar handle to wait for visibility and not run any more of the program until we get visibility. And that seems like backwards and upside down, doesn't it? Oh, you're going to wait for visibility on something you just made invisible? But it doesn't stop it. It doesn't get in the way of it just being invisible. When we're talking about wait for visibility, what's really going on there, I believe, is we're waiting for the window to update itself. So when the window gets updated, it will call that. And then I'm calling the same alpha 0.0 thing again. And the reason why I'm sending the same command through there twice is because, as I've notated here, On Windows, if I call the set the window to invisible thing immediately, then it goes invisible, just like it's doing. You don't see anything when this is loading, nothing flashes, you don't see this window for a tick at a time. It doesn't pop up like a little white, thing and then go away in the blink of an eye. You just see nothing. But on Linux, what I have heard, because I haven't tested this, but what I've read, is that on Linux, if you set the window alpha to 0.0, it won't work at all unless you do it after the window has received its first update, or in other words, you've waited for visibility. And then the other thing is that, so basically, this first line is, if you're on Windows, then you won't see one little burst of white flash when this thing pops up. If you're on Linux, you're going to see that, but it's still going to work. So I send the command twice just as, for Windows to look nicer. If it weren't in there, let's see if I get a little flash. You see that flash? Big flash, in fact. Boom. You can see the image. That image that I'm loading up popping. Yeah. So the Ronin Pawn image. Things are happening a little bit too quickly. In fact, now that I'm thinking about that, if I were to, right here, self.secf, I really, I'm so sick of typing the word self and mistyping it. I really wish, I need to, bind a key to just type the word self, and I need to bind a key that will just type, print, and then open parenthesis, and then quotation mark, just so that I don't have to fucking type these words anymore. But self, if I update it myself, so task, not task, taskbar handle dot update idle task. If I threw one of those in there, okay? No? What if I put one in here? No? What if I did an update instead of an update idle tasks? No. Yeah, it looks like this is just, well, wait, how about here? Nope. That flash is a son of a bitch. I'm going to have to deal with that, because if on Linux this little early thing doesn't work, and if it doesn't work on Mac as well, then that's going to be like a, whoa, what the fuck just happened? You don't want that on your program. So that's something that I'll have to look into a little bit more. I was hoping that by forcing an update call on it, it would register that it had gone invisible, and then, actually be invisible. But it's not. You know what? What if I forced it again during the load tab image process? So when I make it de-iconify, which is here, right before I lock the handle, what if I called it again? Just to be, and don't fuck with me on, don't fuck with me here. If I called it after I did the de-iconify, and I took out this binding just for testing's sake, wait, no, not the binding, but up here, this alpha. So take that back out like we had it before. I'm back down here, now reload it. Okay, so it still flashes when I do it there. If I were to here, if I were to, the geometry gets set to the image, but the image isn't bound to it yet, and then we create the backgroundable taskbar handle update idle tasks. Do it here? Huh? No. No, I thought maybe it was empty, but still there. De-iconify, do that, and then update. Taskbar dot update. Not just an update idle tasks, damn it. And update. Update is basically telling it to draw the frame. Update idle tasks is telling it to do whatever bullshit you need to do in the background, but update actually draws the frame. I can't force it through any quicker, basically, is what I'm seeing here. Oh! I can't guarantee it anyway. I can't guarantee that it'll be done. Back. Back. I could do a self.after. I could do a self.sleep. I don't know. That's it's a nuisance that will have to be dealt with. If I'm thinking if I called after, which is a command that will basically halt the program. It will block the program from doing anything for a certain amount of time, and then it will do whatever you told it to do after that amount of time. And my thought was, what if I, put in an after at this point, and then, or just told it to go to sleep for a second and blocked it for just a little bit of time so that maybe the system could catch up and recognize something, because, like, the handle has been de-iconified, so it's been unminimized, and then we're trying to set the alpha, and then we're going to update it. What if I did the weight visibility again? What if I did the weight visibility here? So we call the de-iconify, then we wait for the visibility, then we set the attributes to 0, and then we do the handle update. No, we still saw it there, a couple of flashes there. It's like T-Kenter is such a son of a bitch with this kind of shit. It's very much, it's very reminiscent of the kind of bullshit issues you end up with when you're trying to code in JavaScript. And JavaScript is, running its processes out of sequence because it does parallel stuff. And it's the kind of like, you're sitting here going, but no, I told you to do that first, and then you did that. Except for JavaScript has, like, an excuse for that, because JavaScript is, parallel processed. It's not linear. It doesn't do one thing and then the other. It multi-threads the thing, so if there's something right after it and it takes the first thing a little bit longer, then it'll just go on to the next thing and do that at the same time in another thread. So JavaScript has an excuse. This shit, I guess it's probably multi-threaded as well for speed. And that's why it behaves so fuckily. Because that's exactly how I would describe it, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. What I've done here is told it to, make itself invisible, and then it doesn't call the process that adds the tab image until after. And the reason I did that and didn't have it do it in the initialization is because it was not working in the initialization. So I said, okay, what you'll do is wait until it's completely initialized and everything's in place, and then you'll call load tab image after everything's been initialized instead of having it part of the initialization. So that works now. But then, like, what I had just put in here was that we load the window, we take the invisible window. It should already be invisible at this point, is the thing. We've already made it invisible during instantiation. And then we've called a self.update idle tasks. So, like, it should fucking be invisible by now. But it isn't. Somehow. I'll tell you what, we'll also add in a self. But I had that in there. I had the taskbar. No, that's not going to work. Quit chasing your tail on this thing. It's just T-Kenter being shit. So it should be invisible by now and long since in terms of computer time. We have initialized the thing, and now that it's been initialized, we're calling the load tab image from the main command line. And so it's already invisible. Now we're going to unlock it, and we're going to de-iconify it so that it can come forward, and if it needs to, like, process anything that it's been holding up, storing in memory things that it needs to do, but because it's not visible and it's iconified, it's not running any of that stuff. Now you're open, you can run it. And then I'm calling an update event. I mean, I did that. We just tried. I'm talking about what we just tried. So I called an update event to tell it, draw yourself, which it should be drawing itself invisibly because it's already been set to invisible. Like, it should have fucking well caught up by now to having processed everything. I can call update idle tasks, or I can call update, and it just doesn't do either of them. Update calls update idle tasks implicitly, as far as I understand. But we tried to update idle tasks. Like, by now, it should fucking well be invisible. And if it's not, fine. But what I should see then is I should see, if I do the taskbar geometry, I should see an empty white frame because I haven't loaded the image into it yet. And then, look, I'm calling an update idle tasks here because I've just loaded geometry in and I need the geometry to be correct for the next couple of sequences, I think, is why that's in there. I think. Let's find out. If I take it out, do I need you in there? Tab out. You're good. Mouse over you. You're good. Okay, I don't need that there. But I had it in there. And that's before we load the background image in. Look, then I'm saying backgroundable, and I'm giving it the width and height, but I still haven't loaded the image in. Now I'm loading the image in, but it's not even placed yet. Now I'm placing the image. Now it should be visible on the next update. But this thing should have already been invisible long since. I've called multiple updates and taskbar update, or rather update idle tasks in the background. Call it, it doesn't matter how many I throw at it, it just does whatever the fuck it does. And that's tkinter for you. So this is an issue. The flash of your image is an issue, and I will have to deal with that. But for now, if you're on Windows, you're good. You're fine. Don't worry about it. Linux is probably going to give you that flash when you start it up. I have no idea what would happen on a Mac. So, as time goes on, I'll get this thing tested on Linux, and then I'll just hear back from people on Mac if anybody ever uses it on Mac, and find out if there are issues like that, because that's how that's going to have to go. Or maybe my buddy Greg, if he's got a MacBook again. And I think he said he did. Or rather, has a Mac computer again. So if I get into it, I can get it tested. So anyway, we make that window invisible, and then we iconify it, which is, fancy words for minimize. So we make this window small because we're never going to let it come back up again except when we're dragging it. And by the way, I'll show you what's actually happening while you're dragging it, okay? This is what's happening when you're dragging this window. Which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool that it's doing that, but it's made that window invisible so you don't see that. The reason why it's doing that is because we need, the way that the Windows operating system anyway decides when to move a Windows taskbar handle across to the next monitor is based on when, there's more of it on the left side than there is on the right side. So, since this is the representation of that, I need that to be moving right on the middle, right along with us, so that the weights are correct. Same thing for the top to bottom. We should be dead middle to the program here, and it looks like we aren't, does it? Doesn't it? Oh, well, it's probably because of the taskbar on the top of that window. Or maybe it's just wrong. Yeah, because we're not centered on the vertical there. In any sense, really. Are we? And if you took the taskbar off... Yeah, that's probably it. The not the taskbar, I mean the top bar. The, where it says split RP up there. If you took that off, then maybe we'd be in the center. If we moved everything down by that much. Yeah, part of the calculation. And I can't calculate for the size of the top bar. I mean, I can. I could put in what it usually is. I could get close. But there's no, measurement method that I am aware of in tkinter to enable you to measure for the size of the actual window. All you can measure for is the size of the window that you control, because the rest of it it comes from the window manager, which means you're relying on, the window manager for Windows or Linux, or, so there's different ways that it could be done. You'd think you'd just be able to measure that somehow. No. So, fuck it. But this is fine. I mean, if you go up, and you had a monitor up above, it would switch to the other window right about there, I would think. So, fuck it. Who's got vertical things anyway? But that's a level of detail. So that's what's actually happening in the background when you grab this. And as soon as I let go, it minimizes. And then anything that I do with the program, you'll never see that again. That's what's happening. In fact, yeah, let's minimize that, and then you can see whenever I click on this, that invisible window is popping up. It's coming unminimized. It looks like it's opened up, and now I'm minimizing it again, but it's always minimized. And every time that I click it, even though it looked like, it was open, it went back to me. It wasn't open. It's constantly minimized. At the end of every operation that it's asked to do, it minimizes again. So that's what's happening in the background, and when we make it invisible, what it enables is the stock behavior of a window, just generally speaking. I drag it around, I do that, the things do all the, go to the places, so that's how I get there. So we make that window invisible, and then we minimize it, which it's going to stay for the rest of its life, and then we bind a couple of events for later use, which is the button release. So when you have been clicking and then you release, we need that for focus issues. The focus in, we need that for focus issues. The focus out, we need for focus issues. And the map, we need for minimizing and unminimizing. The map event in the binding is, in fact, the event that something is becoming unminimized. It's been mapped to the screen, and when that happens, we want some things to happen. Then we throw out a self.update idle tasks, and the reason we're doing that is to update our own geometry, so that if you try and do something back on the timeline, where you're like instantiating all this stuff, the geometry that you'll be calling will be correct. And that was important because when I was then instantiating this smaller settings window down here, I'm using the width of the master window to define how large the child window should be. And before I added the extra update idle task, and I actually took this, I decided to do it a different way based on this issue. Before I did that, what you would get is you would get the geometry that hasn't updated yet. You've set it, but it hasn't actually been applied to it. So, like, update idle tasks needs to be called so fucking much in tkinter when you're just trying to, like, do normal things, just to make sure that it actually does what you told it to do. And you would think, like, if I were designing this system, I would make it so that if something calls, it'd be this simple. If something, anything, calls for a value that has, like, a value waiting, you know, I said I'm going to update that for you, but I'm going to set it aside in the queue because I don't want to, like, cram it all down the processor's throat at once, you know, I don't need to do this all right now. I'll put it over in the queue. If something comes through
You
and
come
says,
here all the time. Here's one for free.
Don't mind me just passing by on my way to bed. But I think even though I don't take as much time watching you as I should, you deserve it.
oh, thank you, Maffycraft. Thank you for the subscription. Sleep well. Did you drink a beer? That usually puts me to bed. Have like 2 or 3 beer, and just like 1 bottle of NyQuil, and it's just perfect. It's just perfect. Don't do that. Don't actually do that. Thank you, Maffycraft. Seriously, have a good night's sleep. What the fuck was I saying? Before you perfectly timed that with I was saying something about someone saying something, and then you said something. It was perfect. With the update idle tasks. Yeah, okay, so if I were designing that system for tkinter, I would have it such that, like, if there is an update waiting and someone calls something that would affect, you know, that needs that information, then open the floodgates. And then the people using your library, your system, they wouldn't have to be constantly, like, telling it, update it. No, update the idle tasks again. No, I know you don't want, it's like, but you need to, because you're, like, this is just, But, you know, it's tkinter, so I'm writing around it so that other people don't have to anyway. Trying to lose weight, actually, at the moment, says Maffycraft. So what, no big bottle of NyQuil? It's not about calories, it's weight gain. It's just, it'll put you out. What? Oh, the beer! The beer, you mean? Right, these have calories, and I forget. Have a good night. So, yeah, update idle test. The last thing that we do in initialization is we force the focus to us, just in case something. I think during development, like, I was, at one point before I hid the window via alpha state changes, I was trying to hide this window behind this window. Just like keep it trapped there. So I don't know that I need this focus force anymore, but maybe it helps. Maybe it helps. It might help for the instance where I was showing you on Linux, if this alpha hasn't been applied yet, and then this gets called, and the image pops up. Imagine you've got an image that's smaller than your application. With the focus force, maybe this window will actually pop up underneath the... I don't know that it's useful anymore. I'm going to leave it there anyway. So we're forcing the focus, which is to say that we're drawing this window to the top, in case there's any other windows that are still around. And there aren't, because this one's been iconified. So I don't need that. I don't need that. Go ahead and restart. You pop open when you're initialized. Are we on you? If I click here, if I don't clicking you at all, yeah, we're focused on it. So I don't need to do that focus force. There will be focus forces in our future. We just saved a line of code. So then I'm defining bind drag, a function that I wrote to enable you after instantiation, because this will be the window. So, you know, anything that's going to be inside the window that you could click on and use as a place where if I click here, then drag the window around, like that, that's going to have to come after the window exists. So bind drag is a function. It's just all people copying each other and copying each other till the bloody world ends, isn't it? So bind drag, yeah, it is, isn't it? So bind drag is something that you can call after you've instantiated something that you want to use as like a drag handle. So you could create your own like top bar and just have people be able to drag from your top bar, or you could do like I've done and tell it just the entire background of the program. If it's not something that I can, you know, if it is the background, then you can click and drag it wherever the background exists. So that's the function that does that by instantiating the binding. Well, this is the unbind. If widget is none, so I made this a one or a two-way function. If you don't put in a widget and you call bind drag, then it will unbind the drag. If you put in a widget, then it will set the binding up for you. So here we're setting the binding up and we're defining what the widget is that we're supposed to be binded to. In fact, we need to do that. We don't. We don't, and I don't see that anyone would ever, and that's a private variable too. I don't need that. I don't need to hold on to which widget I am bound to. So let's make that just that. In fact, drag widget and drag widget. Now you're complaining that I haven't instantiated it. Did I instantiate self.dragWidget up here? No, so it was only being instantiated when I was calling it. If widget is not done, drag widget on... Oh, well, drag widget. No. Widget. I'm being silly. Not paying attention. So that's it. Just whatever you happen to pass in, and it should be fine. Yeah, it should work the same way. I don't need to keep a local reference to that. Just bind it. So yeah, there's one... I just saved another line of code. This is why you do it. Why you go through it. So bind child that was binding the ability to have like a draggable thing, to say anything in here. You could say, I want that to be the drag thing, and then you could bind it to it. Bind child is going to bind child windows. So if you have a child window, like a setting window like that, or a pop-up of some kind that you want to, whatever it is. If you do a child window, this is how it's going to interact with that. When you call bind child, childable window, and the childable window will call this for you. If you instantiate a childable window in my class, it will call back to its parent and say bind me. But you also have it as a public method if you want to do things manually and break everything. All that does is append the name of the childable window to the child list. Simple as that. Because the way that this is going to work is that whenever you do a thing, where like drag, where it needs to happen on all the windows that are attached, that are children, it's going to go through that list from top to bottom and do whatever it's doing to all of them. So, that brings us on to load tab image, which is the function that I wrote that looks very long and complicated, and probably is overcomplicated. that simply loads an image into the background of this window that's representing us on the taskbar and in the tab menu there. It loads that image in. And the reason why this is so complicated is because if you have a window that is minimized, it's not updating anything. So you can queue up a million things that you want to happen, but they won't happen. None of them will happen until it's unminimized, and then it'll be like, okay, all the shit that you told me to do, I did it now. But it has to come unminimized for, a tick in order to start that process. And the problem is that all of this load tab image stuff, it needs to happen I need to get this off of minimized state, and I need to hold it off of minimized state for enough frames for it to actually register long enough to load this image up. What I had before I made this thing as long and complicated as it is was a system whereby you would load the tab image in, and it wouldn't be there, and then when you dragged, it would emerge. And then when you, went back over it, it would pop up and it'd be there. Because when you drag it, it unminimizes this and locks it to it. So it gives it the time to process the fact that it's made those changes. Again, just dodging and weaving around tkinter being fucking bullshit. So, yeah, let's just walk through it. Image is equal to the image path that you hand in. So we're going to load in the image from the image path that you told us to load as the tab image. If that fails, then that fails. Hand in a valid image path there because that's all this does. I've chosen throughout this program in certain places where it's like it can run and should run whether you've got a valid image path that you've handed me or not, then I will do some error handling and for you so that it can fail and continue on. I could do some error handling here for you, but if this fails, that was the whole point of this. If you're calling this at all, the whole point is to load the image in. So the whole program should fail if you can't load that image in, because that's the purpose of this. I don't know. That's where I'm coming from on making these choices anyway, is if it's optional, if it's not a big deal, fine. Otherwise, if it's the point of the function that you're calling, then it should fucking work. So we load the actual image from the image path into memory, and then we take the width and height of that image. We need that immediately because we're going to use it down here when we declare our geometry. We set the tab width equal to the image's width minus the width of ourselves divided by 2. So what I'm doing there is making it so that if I do this again, make it visible, I'll be able to describe this easier. When I drag, you see that this image has been locked to the middle of what we've got here. If I didn't do what I'm doing here in terms of math with the dividing by 2 and subtracting them from each other, then this image would, when we unminimize it, it would line up on the 0, 0 point, which would be the top corner right there. But I need it right in the middle so that when it moves like that, it behaves like every other program. Trying to hide the fact that this is tkinter. So we're doing that. That's what that math is. Division by 2, we're finding the middle of this thing with this little bit of math for each of the things. Then we're turning the the lock handle off, which is to say this. This Boolean value determines whether or not you can unminimize this, and it will stay unminimized. If it's true, then as soon as you unminimize it, it will minimize again. So we turn that off because we need this window to open up long enough to actually process the updates that we're sending it. Then we send the updates in. So we turn the lock handle off, we de-iconify it. Now it's open and we should be able to actually send information through and have it get processed. Then we change the geometry. We set the width and the height of the window itself to be the width and the height of the image that's been passed in. Then we set the X and the Y, set its coordinates to be what we calculated here with the half width of the image and including the width and height of the actual program that we're running on, and just we put it in the middle. And then to this window that we've created, we attach a backgroundable, another class of mine, with the image that we've drawn in. So we set that image to the thing and the other and the whatnot. We use image width and height in order to decide the width and height of that. Next thing, self.taskbar handle.update. So this is, trying to force these changes through before we iconify it again. We've made all of these changes, but tkinter won't actually make your changes unless you tell it to make the fucking changes, because if we minimize it again, well then tkinter won't make any of the changes because it's minimized. So why would I make changes? Even if you tell me explicitly to make those changes while I'm in the background, I still won't make those changes. Because fuck you, tkinter. So we force those changes through on the update, and then we minimize it again. And then we lock the handle again. So it went from false, we unlocked it, and then we did all the things, and then we shut it back down and locked it back up tight, and then we force focus ourselves back onto the main program. Because we've had this one open, and do I need to do that? What are the odds? You've just minimized this. Yes, I do. Maybe. I mean, we're still in control. And this is part of this program. I might not need that focus force either. Let's find out. Let's find out. Start it up. In fact, let me close it here, and then we'll start it up. Yeah, we don't need that one. After the load tab image. We just don't need it. That's another line of code. Another line of code gone, and the developer of tkinter, the people who maintain tkinter, would be happier with me because they don't like you calling focus force, apparently. Well, write a better thing, and I won't. Okay. So let's save this over here. If I close it, then every time it opens thereafter, it will open there. That brings us on to the mouse drag function, and I'm getting a little bit, loopy in my head right now, and I also want to see what's going on outside. So we're going to take a live stream break, and when we come back, I will continue stepping through this code. We've already saved 5 lines of code just by stepping through and going, well, what's actually needed here? What do we actually need? Oh shit, did I just put a 7 in the... Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So stick with me for this live stream break. I will not be playing for you any Josh Woodward music because, I contacted him because I got a copyright strike, or not a strike, a copyright claim on my, content. Oh, Josh Woodward. I hate it when it comes from, an actual person. So, on my 4 or 5 hour content that I generated, Josh, you now, have claimed the right to take the money, or at least to block me, and I'm not sure which you've done, because I didn't look close, because I don't give a shit. But on my 4 or 5 hours of content that I generated, where I gave you platform and a stage for other people to hear your music, because it's good music, and I enjoy it, and you've, allowed it to circulate, he's being a stickler for written attribution, so you have to put the attribution in the description of your video, which is something I'm not going to do on every live stream that I do, and more so that I built this system that you're about to see when we go to live stream break. I made foobar 2000 fit in a certain area and show the ID 3 tags of the content that I play, so that I'm doing the attribution while the music is being played on screen, so that if you hear a song that you like that I'm playing, if it's not one of these ones that doesn't have any ID3 tags to it, which tend to be the ones that I got from YouTube, oddly enough, the ones that are in YouTube's copyright free list, they don't have any ID3 tags on them, but those are copyright free, so no problem there. But if you are listening to some music, oh, that sounds good, you can just look at the screen and see who the artist is or the name of the thing, and then you can Google search, or you can just get there. So I've done that to do something that's actually better than written attribution. That's not good enough for Josh Woodward. So Josh Woodward will not be heard on this live stream anymore. Sad shit, you know, because it's so, like, what bothers me the most about it is that somebody who makes content would participate in taking other people's revenues or blocking other people's revenues who are making content. You know, it's one thing, Josh, and everyone else who does this, if people are, like, stealing your music and then using your music, and your music is, like, a functional, fundamental, critical part of what they're doing, or they just, like, stole your music and put it up as a song, and now they're just getting views by people who want to listen to your song, and they're making money off of it. There's, you know, a place where copyright and the content management system needs to come into play on YouTube. In the instance where someone has used a portion of your music that you have given away via Creative Commons license, you've given, like, rights for people to use, you know, attribution-wise, even if you're not getting attribution on some of those usages, it's like, so because you're not getting written attribution, you're going to block someone else's content from being made profitable and or steal their profit? Like, how interesting that you care about, like, being fair and reasonable with copyrights when they're yours, and when it's someone else's content, it's not as important. Josh. We'll be back in 7 minutes after this live stream break. Juan Nada. Hello, I am the Ronan Pawn, and welcome back to a twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn live stream on twitch.tv/Ronan Pawn. There he's trying again. Quit trying, you're not doing it. Welcome back. You know, before we get back to the coding and the boredom, for anyone who chooses to watch it, let's talk about the copyright attribution. I was talking about Josh Woodward, and I was talking about, you know, the reason why. The reason why, when, you know, I play music on that screen, you know, there's a box there that shows you that it's playing and shows you the ID3 tags and stuff. Like, I went well out of my way to try and make it so that when I'm doing these live streams, when you're hearing music played, like, you can see where it came from, who it's by. Worst case scenario, if there's an MP3 that's in my small collection of copywritten free music that I thought was actually good shit, like Josh Woodward's stuff, that you can just, like, go, you don't have to go, oh, what's that song? Poem, what's that song? It's there. It's on the screen. You can just look and go, oh, there it is. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't have, like, the artist and it's not a complete ID3 tag, at least you've got, like, a name to go on and can try and search down whatever it is that I'm playing and find it. And all of the stuff in my collection does have ID3 tags, except for the stuff that doesn't. The stuff that doesn't mostly came directly from YouTube's, like, you can use this stuff for free list, which is another, like, layer of interesting that YouTube has created a list of music that you can use for absolutely free without having to, like, attribute it, and we haven't even bothered to put the ID3 tags in it. And it follows because you don't have to attribute it. But, you know, if people have given you music that you can use for completely and totally free, commercially, non-commercially, all that kind of stuff, you should attribute it, shouldn't you, YouTube? But that's how they distribute their stuff. No ID3 tags. So, all right, whatever. But I've gone pretty far out of my way to do that. And the reason why I built that, you know, system the way that I did was to show you, you know, here's who made this music. Now, like, what I want to talk about with the copyright stuff is the swatting of flies with bazookas that goes on in modern media these days and across the internet media, across YouTube and stuff like that, and just with musicians a lot. The swatting of flies with bazookas, because on YouTube, you have a ever-present constant threat upon any content that you put forward that someone's going to come along and claim that it's theirs, and claim that it contains something of theirs. In the time that I have been putting things on YouTube, over 1,000 videos that I've made, I used a lot of, you know, different music and stuff because, you know, I'm trying to produce fun things. And all of that music has been, you know, attribution friendly, and when I made a video that used a piece of music, I would put the name of the person who made the music. I did the written attribution thing. I'm now doing live streams, so it's not, like, friendly to have to do that for every live stream. So I'm not going to do that for every live stream, so I built that system. But in that time that I've been putting it up, I've received probably over 100 different claims, probably hundreds of claims over the course of 5 years from the content management system of YouTube, CMS accounts, that are held by large media publishers and people who YouTube has decided to gift the license to steal content from other people in an attempt to placate these large universal music groups, Sony Media Entertainment, these large conglomerates that have managed to monopolize the distribution of media in general. They give them these CMS accounts, and then with these CMS accounts, they upload the music or video that they claim is theirs, and then YouTube's systems, you know, go through every video that's uploaded, and people know how this works these days. It goes through what's been uploaded, and it looks for that music, and it looks for those images, and if it sees it, then it automatically reports, it automatically, like, claims your content on behalf of the person who uploaded the content and said that this is mine. What has happened in the course of me being on YouTube is probably hundreds of claims, and 99.8% of them have been completely invalid. They have been music that someone was saying was music that was theirs that wasn't theirs, music that was listed under, the wrong name, and it wasn't theirs because, like, they didn't even know what the music was, but they just uploaded it, and it didn't even have the right title or right artist, but they claimed my content, which, when I was uploading to YouTube was 20, 30-minute long videos of me trying to put on a comedic performance while doing, like, a whole thing, a show of an episode of a Ronan Pawn YouTube video, and then because I used 25 seconds of a song that is, by the way, I'm allowed to use it, I run the threat of someone who doesn't own that song coming and saying, that's my song, and then they'd take the money away. Or at least they'd either claim the money for themselves, or it would, like, block you from using it, or it could even go as far as to make your video unviewable either in certain countries or all across the world. Depending on how far they wanted to go, and even down to striking your, channel, to the point where if you get 3 copyright strikes against your account, they just shut your channel down entirely, and your entire body of work goes away, and your channel is dead, and the subscribers are gone, and everything's over. The swatting of flies with bazookas. So what I want to say is that, like, the independent artists out there who are using distributors, publishers, because most of them are using publishers to access the content management system, or rather they've published their music with someone because they wanted to get it for sale on a certain site so that they could hopefully make a little bit of money on the music that they've made, and then that publisher added it to their CMS account so that they could, steal money or protect your content on YouTube, but steal money from other people who have created much larger pieces of work that used, a portion of your music for a little bit of time in their larger, body of work. To that, I say, put down the fucking bazooka, because, like, this entire world seems to be so far gone on the notion that, I can make money doing anything, that, just to speak to creators of independent music, you're not going to make any money on it. Please start from there. Please start from there. And if you start to make money on it, you start to get a following, and it's like, oh, I could be making money on that, then, okay, now go ahead and try and start making money on it. But the millions of you, of us, because I'm a musician as well, who are making music, please just give it away for free. Because what you're doing when you're trying to sell it is you're not going to make any money off of it. You're not going to make any real money off of it. Unless you do. Unless something hits. Unless something gets out there. And if it does, then you can make money. But until that day, what you have done is created a situation where people who might use your music here and there, because they like it and they want to share it with other people, are going to think twice, because your music might have been in this copyright management system, or, with this instance with Josh Woodward, where, independent artist who has, like, made it very clear that you can use my music, it's freely out there for commercial use and everything, just give me attribution. Again, in that instance, Josh now has a system where he's apparently, this is what I divined from this, he's registered with content management system, because otherwise he wouldn't be able to find it on YouTube. Like, so it reports back to him, hey, we found something. And then I think what he's got is a system where it actually takes the match that YouTube sent him, and then it goes to the page, and then it looks to see if in the description of that video, like an automated script that looks to see if in the description of that video the words Josh Woodward are there or something like that. It looks for the copyright attribution. And then if it's not there, then it puts a claim against it. And to that I'm saying, you are well within your legal rights to do that, you piece of shit. Because, like, the use... What are you trying to accomplish is my question at that point. What is the goal there? And the answer would be something, generic and meaningless, like I'm trying to protect my intellectual property. I'm trying to protect my something, something, something. If you've already decided that it's, like, free to use commercially, you want your name to be associated with the music that's used. Fair enough. What you are doing, though, is swatting the fly with a bazooka. Because in this situation, we got Josh Woodward himself, even after being contacted directly and, explained the situation, he's just gonna, like, let it be. Now, I'm gonna keep my copyright claim on your content, which, the piece of content that is copywritten here is like 4 or 5 hours long that I did a live stream, and I put his music in the break because, I could just, like, have picked one corporate jingle to play during my live stream breaks, some little background piece of nothing that is completely nobody's ever going to come looking for it, and just always play that. But I play other people's music on my live stream break because I want to circulate it and want other people to get exposure, and this is good music that I found that I enjoy from artists who are freely sharing, which is what I think they should be doing. Cool, here, check these guys out. Now I'm not doing that for Josh because he's trying to what, Josh? What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to make money off of your music? Stop. Stop that. Because, like, we end up with a world where everybody's, like, trying to make money off of things they know is highly unlikely. Like, 99% of the time, I'm not going to make money off of, some code that I wrote. You're not going to make money off of some music that you wrote. You're not going to make money off of the art that you do. Like, you might be able to make a little dollar here, a little dollar there, but, like, if you're going to make some serious money and make a living at it, that's going to come from time and labor and people learning, and appreciating what you're doing and learning your name and that kind of a thing. It doesn't come from, I made one song and, that's going to be the big money maker. And if it is the big money maker and you're like a one-hit wonder kind of person, you can get the money for that after the fact. Like, you can make that turn into money for you. But, like, there are 1 million people, 10 million people on the planet right now, none of whom are going to be big and make any actual, like, money. They're not even going to make their money back on the amount of time and effort and money that they put into trying to make the music and doing the shows and filling up with gas and dragging everybody out to do a show at the local bar and stuff. You're never even going to make that money back. It is a losing proposition monetarily. Why are you doing it? If you're doing it on the hope that someday you'll make $1 million, you're doing it for the wrong reason. If it's art, if we're talking about technology and innovation and, well, sometimes capitalism and corporatism drives innovation and stuff like that. Yeah, it really doesn't. I could argue that point with you as well. But when we're talking about art here, the pursuit of money does not drive art. The pursuit of money does not like move people to make something that's even, more prolific. Like, that's not what art is. That's not what touches your heart. Oh, somebody made something to make money and it's really, really good. I mean, Disney makes a lot of films that are really good movies and stuff. And they're for money, they're for profit. The people who are making them for Disney, the reason why those are good movies is because, yeah, they're happy to take a paycheck. But, if it's a good movie, it's because they're plying their art, not for the money. The money gives them the freedom to ply their art. So the art didn't, like, make them free. Like, they made the art, or rather, selling the art didn't make them free. The art made them free to sell the art. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's how it works. And, the odds that you're going to be the one guy who gets drafted for the NFL out of your high school football team, are the same of you becoming, a musician who can actually make money on their music, who can actually make a living on their music. So you can go one of two ways. You can either hold out on the hope of it, but still just practice as an artist and as a musician and give your content away until it starts making money and then be like, oh, I can make a living off of this? Okay. Or you can keep filing the fucking lotto ticket on the hope that you're going to, become the next one-hit wonder. That you're going to be the guy who gets drafted to the NFL from your high school football team. The one in the billion chance. And in the process of doing so, what you'll be doing is stifling the free expression, the free trade of art, the sharing of your own content, which could actually result in you cashing that lottery ticket at some point. Because, if people aren't sharing it and listening to it and passing it around, it's pretty hard for you to make a name and people to actually care about who you are. But if you give it away for free, then it's out there. It's circulating. People are listening to it. People can come to appreciate it. People might, it's ridiculous the amount of evil that is being done, the amount of people who are doing hard work as passion, and also hard work as careers and making a living. Because as a YouTuber, I was making a living off of my videos there for a hot second. But, the amount of, fucking someone else over, fucking yourself over that you're doing in the hopes that someday it'll work out to where you fucked enough people over and you accepted fucking yourself over so many times that eventually it resulted in the $1 million check. Just assume that's not going to happen. And then you'll, find out whether or not you're doing this for the right reason. Whether you're in it because it's what you would be doing whether someone was paying you or not. And 2, you'll be making the world a better place with your art and your contribution. And you'll also be encouraging the possibility that someday you might be able to cash that lotto ticket. That is the most reasonable, logical way to go about it. Just give it away. And God, imagine if we lived in a world where people who created things, creative types, instead of everybody trying to find a way to squeeze $1 out of a stone, if they just gave it away freely until that day at which point they looked around and said, oh my God, I think I can make a living off of this. I've made a name for myself. People know me. People want me to do other work. People have heard my stuff. People have seen my stuff. If you stop beating the fucking stone and give the stone away, someone just might come back to you with the stone and go, this is a really cool stone. Can you make more of these? And then you could make a living off of it. But so long as you're building a fence around your stone and then trying to charge people to come up and look at your stone from a distance, that's not going to happen. I mean, it could, but it is, the flip of 1 billion coins, hoping that one time it'll land not heads, not tails, but on its side, and specifically 364.7 degrees. It's ridiculous. The pursuit of money has driven people insane. I'm trying to make money off of something that I know it's very unlikely for me to make money off of, and in the pursuit of that, I'm going to fuck myself over, fuck other people over, and not contribute substantively to the field and the form of expression that I'm into.
PLEEDPURPLE 100000BONUS 100000 Jivepon, let the brainwashing begin. You got bigger stones than onion.
I liked all of how that was pronounced. Chivepon. Everyone chived upon. Jesus Christ, Jermacian. You're discouraging me from doing anything other than... Well, you know what? This is exactly what I'm going to be doing. Sitting here talking about nothing in particular. Oh. Thank you, Jermacian. Holy shit. 10,000 bits. $100 fucking dollars is what that is. You put a decimal between the first two, right? And $100 fucking dollars. And then Twitch has to give me an extra 1,000 bits because of the support, or somebody's doing it, right? Am I on a cancer list? Is this a Make-A-Wish Foundation thing? Did I forget to not sign up to that? What? Holy shit, Jermacian. Dropping the hundo with 14,320 bits this week, Jermacian. Thank you so much. See, now, what just happened there? Was I giving something away for free? And then someone came along and said, I appreciate this. Hey, here's some money for it. Is that how that just worked? I wonder if I had built a big fence around this and said you can't come in until you pay me $5, if that would have worked out as well. And if I would have been in any way happy doing it, feeling that, need now to sate the appetite of the people who have already paid me $5 once they come into my den of iniquity. Now I'm behoven and behooved and betrothed and betruven to the desires of whoever it is that I've suckered into coming in. But instead, just give it away. You just give it away. Be free with what you have. Contribute it. And then, if nobody wants it, then, you'll have enjoyed yourself and you won't have tried to make it anything more than you enjoying yourself doing what you want to do. But, if people do enjoy it, then maybe they'll come around for it. Maybe they won't give you any money. And you know what? People will be around appreciating what you do, which you were going to do anyway. That'll be nice, won't it? And if there's money there, too, more's the better. And if there's not, you still made out. Because people are around you. And if nobody showed up, then, that sucks. But you did what you were going to do anyway. You did what you wanted to do. You created. And that's, if it's not its own reward, then, something's broken. Thank you so much, Jermasian. It is spread the happiness. Thank you. Why are you happy? What happened? Are you happy? Happy. Thank you. But yeah, spread the happiness, spread your light, spread your joy, and, quit trying to fucking make a buck off everything. It is swatting flies with bazookas. And the content management system on YouTube and, Josh Woodward, it's just anyone who's interacting with that system in any other way than trying to just go away, leave me alone. People who are actually using that system. Like, the instance where you've got 1 million views came through on a video that someone else stole and uploaded, or came through on a video that was a music video that someone used someone else's music for. That is the 1 in a billion fucking, situation. I mean, maybe not a billion because it's YouTube, but 1 in a million situation where someone actually, made a bunch of money off of something that they stole. In which case, you know what you can do? You can sue them. If there's enough money there to make it worth you suing them, you can sue them. And also, you could, at that point, engage with YouTube's content management system and, get involved with trying to protect what is now blowing up that's yours, that someone else is stealing the credit for and the money for and all that kind of stuff. Until that day comes along, you are just, smacking so many people in the face in order to protect against something that isn't even happening yet and that probably won't ever happen. A bazooka for a housefly. I'm Troll, says Scorpion SK. Do you have 14,321 bits? Because you could be the highest contributor this week. I ain't giving this away for free over here. Oh, thank you so much, Jermasian. Jesus Christ, it's gonna help. See, that's gonna, right now, I'm sitting on, my income presently is, on Patreon. You guys can see it. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's $151. And I'll just say it now. Kenneth left. He didn't leave because he didn't like, me anymore or anything like that. It was just, he's not supporting me financially anymore. So the people who are come to $149, $152 a month. So that's my base income. And then whatever you guys happen to donate during the live streams is the bigger portion of that usually. I've come to be more reliant on Twitch than anything these days, so thank you very much for contributing here and for your subscriptions and everything. This is how I pay the bills. That said, since Kenneth left, I knew that there was a timer ticking. A tick, 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 tick. It's going. I have so much money in the bank. I have so much income per month. The income per month is not going to be enough to pay the bills. How much time do I have? Since that happened, since my income changed like that, that how long can I go has kept expanding and expanding and expanding. Thanks to your generosity, thanks to Jermasian, people, subbing and stuff like that, and thanks to just, the heavens opening. I literally reconnected with the Gospels and the teachings of Jesus. And I'm not a Christian, but I reconnected with that recently on these live streams. It's been a week and a half or something since I was talking about that stuff on these live streams, because I went back and read the Gospels again, and just the fucking juice that's in, the actual teachings of Jesus, not the stuff that people say about, not the stuff that's in between when Jesus is talking, not the Old Testament, not the shit that's written after it by Paul, but what Jesus was talking about, especially when it comes to like money and stuff. Like his plea to everyone who would listen was stop fucking worrying about it. Stop trying to save shit for yourself and, lay up more for tomorrow for you when you've already got enough for today, and start taking care of the people around you and have faith, speaking to believers as Jesus was, have faith that God will take care of you. Be the good servant and take care of others. That's your role here. And God will take care of you. He loves the grasses so much, and he loves if God loves all these things, then surely he loves you enough to make sure that you don't starve to death. And if he doesn't, then it's God's will that you starve to death, in which case be meek and humble and fucking starve to death. But I mean, like, the core and the heart of that message is just like a plea to wake up from how much our lives are all shaped by that, like, desperation to make sure that we've got tomorrow taken care of, when we don't even know that we'll see tomorrow. We could not wake up. We could get hit by a bus. We could anything like that, but everybody's like trying to build for tomorrow and the tomorrow after that and the tomorrow after that. And the problem with that is if you look too far ahead, then you'll see that eventually, no matter how this thing works out, you don't have infinite tomorrows. You'll notice that if you look too far. If you look too close, then you won't plan for the next day at all, and then you won't have anything. And it's like, no matter what you do there with trying to plan for tomorrow, you're fucked. You're ultimately fucked, Maybe you're not fucked tomorrow, but you're fucked eventually. Or maybe if you're not fucked eventually, maybe you're fucked today. And like the plea of sanity that I find in Jesus' teachings was like, just take yourself aside for a moment and imagine a life where instead of worrying what's in your wallet, how much is in your bank account, and what you've got for tomorrow, what if you just showed up to every scenario and every situation open and free and clear and clean and did whatever you were going to do, and were just natural. Just natural. Not natural plus a reasonable consideration for my pocketbook, but just natural, Doesn't mean that you got to give everything that you have away to everyone else. Although that, I believe, is what Jesus was teaching. It doesn't mean that you have to give things to people who are undeserving, or people who are trying to take advantage of you or rip you off, or, the person on the street who asks you for money that from the track marks in their arms is going to go get high. Here's the thing. You could give them that money and they could go get high, and there you go. No problem with that. They needed money. They needed money to get high. You gave it to them. Okay. Like, there's no big problem with that. But, like, you don't have to do anything. But where your concern for your own pocketbook comes in to every fucking decision, we have shaped our lives and miss our lives. And miss the opportunities of our lives. And miss what's going on. Like, walk past things for a lot of reasons. And one of the biggest ones is money. And, coming back to Jesus' teachings, and also like seeing that, that at least for me, those teachings have never been proven wrong. I don't believe in a, anthropomorphic deity. I don't believe in that kind of a God there. That said, there was a time in my life where I did. Or where at least I believed in not an anthropomorphic deity, not a humanish God, but something, a cosmic will, a sentience to existence, a order to the universe, that kind of thing. And when I say I did, I still do, but it's different than it was then, anyway. But I followed the teachings of Jesus. I sold off everything that I had in the world, gave the money to my mom. He said give the money to the poor, so I gave it to my mom. And went out on the road to, like, be a disciple of Jesus. Basically just live the way that Jesus had said to live. Not trying to convert people, or just trying to live the way that this teacher had said to live, and see if there's any virtue and value in it. I wanted to find out, and I went and I did. And yes, it was possibly the most virtuous activity of my life. And also, I was never without. I was homeless. I was moneyless. I was literally had a bag with all my, earthly keepings over my shoulder. And there was not a day that I was without a roof over my head when I was homeless that I didn't choose. That I didn't choose to give myself. Like, I literally had to go out of my way because I thought it was going to be really hard to be homeless, and people just kept coming out of the woodwork to give me shelter, to give me something, because I was giving to them, because I was free, because I was out there just doing whatever. I wasn't trying to make money. I wasn't trying to make a living. I wasn't trying to do anything or go for tomorrow. I wasn't planning for the next day. I was showing up here and now today, and people saw that in front of them, and they just opened themselves and their pocketbooks, and just, they wanted to give something back to someone who was openly giving and freely giving, and they wanted to honor what I was doing because it was so rare in this world. And I had to actually, I forced myself to sleep under a bridge one night because I wanted to know what that was like, because I'd been homeless for a month and I had never been without a bed and a roof and a shelter, because somebody was always there to say, come on in. And I'd even, at first I was like, in fact, every time I was like, listen, I don't want to take anything from someone else. I don't want to be a burden, a nuisance. No, get in here. I want you in here. God damn it, get in here. That's how I was treated. When it came time to leave the place that I was in, I stuck my thumb out and started hitchhiking to the next place. And on the journey, which was only like 2 days journey, maybe, hitchhiking from one state to 2 states over, people just, like, someone would pick me up, I'd get in the car, we'd start talking, and by the end of us talking, they'd be like, listen, I want you to have $200. No, take it. And then I had $200, and as somebody who's trying to live for other people, now I'm looking for a way to use these $200 for other people and not for myself. I did get a couple of hotel rooms here and there, but what I'm saying is I put that, like, challenge of Jesus's to the test of have faith that you will be provided for, and just show up and be natural and just, care for others as you care for yourself, as you would care for yourself, and don't care for yourself. You will be cared for if you care for others. I put that to the test, and it was proven fucking 1,000% true every day that I was homeless. Jermacian said, I have a girlfriend, someone I've known for 20 years and I've had feelings for, and we have talked off and on over the 20 years. She said she wants to be my girlfriend now and forever. Oh, congratulations, Jermacian. So there is happiness to spread. Thank you so much. See? And you will be taken care of. In fact, give me more money. If you give me all of it, you'll be really taken care of. But I tested it, and it's like, it's magic. I mean, it makes you think like magic. It makes you think, my God, is there, some anthropomorphic deity somewhere? Because I put it to the test, and that was one of the things that Jesus taught was, don't just take me at my word, put me to the test. Try what I'm selling. And so I went out and tried it, and it was right. And yeah. And, ever since my income changed, I, have just been like, I knew that there was a timer on it, and ever since my income changed, like, the timer just keeps getting longer instead of shorter. I've got just under $2,000 in the bank right now from a miracle donation. But, like, I got just under $2,000 in the bank right now, and I'm looking at, bare minimum, it cost me about $600 a month to pay the bills and survive and stuff like that. So maybe I got, basically on what I've got in the bank right now, that's 4 months. I could stretch that to 4 months probably. But that's 4 months before I take into account the income that, the $100 that the $143.20 that Jermacian has given me this week, before I take into account the $150 that is coming across on Patreon every month right now. like, basically those 4 months are more like 6 months that I have on $2,000 in my bank account. And that's amazing. And the more that I behave freely and stop worrying about this shit, the more it takes care of itself. There'll be peace when you are done. And carry on just free. The more that I stop trying to take care of this shit, the more that it seems to take care of itself. And it takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of huevos to actually do that and live that way. But if you can, I recommend it. I'm just one sample case. So, test me. Try me. Because I can't tell you that it'll work. I can only tell you that it works for me. I can only tell you that, when you show up and you're open and you're honest and you're faithful and you care for others and you try and do what's best by other people, and care for others more than you care for yourself, that what happens is the others who you care for start caring for you. And ultimately, best case scenario, they start caring for you more than they care for themselves. Which maybe is what Dramatian's got going there. With the old flame. The old flame. So that's where things could be going. You are a god, says Scorpion SK to Dramatian about the 14,320 bits. I know. Pawn is a good man. Thank you, Dramatian. I'm not, but, I play one on TV. So, my code that we were talking about earlier is kind of boring, and I'm not interested in walking through it anymore. Way more interested in talking about the teachings of Jesus and the copyright issues and stuff like that. And that is probably where I'm actually heading with this, with what we're doing on the live stream. You guys know that Harv and I have had plans to do a show together for some time, and it's, something that I thought was going to happen before the end of last year, and just between me and Harv, and it's definitely me as much as it's Harv, and me more than it's Harv, just dragging my feet, as well as chronic fatigue syndrome and health issues and stuff like that. It's just been it's not been a thing that we're rushing to do. We want to do it, so we're going to do it, and we'll do it in our time when we get there. But Harv got in touch with me again just recently, and we're chatting back and forth again. Not that it's ever been off. We've been trading little updates on things that we've been working on for the show for some time now. But, the show that we have planned is basically what I want to be doing. It'll be interesting to see whether Harv and I can pull it off as a pair, as a unit. But that's what we built. That's what we have been talking about. Harv and I have been talking about. We want to do what we want to do. So we found, we've got an idea that appeals to both of us. And we're both going to do what we want to do together on a show. And it's going to be here, and it's going to be live on Twitch. Probably on Harvey's channel. Although maybe we'll double broadcast to the channels, and then we'll just upload it exclusively on Harvey's channel on YouTube. But we're figuring that kind of stuff out. But that's probably where it's going, in terms of what this live stream is going to become. Because I'm not trying anymore. I refuse to try. I'm just going to do. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do what I do. But I'm not going to try. And I advise that y'all stop trying and just do. Because when you're trying, then you're trying to accomplish something. You got ideas about what you're going to... That's what Yoda meant, There is no try, there is only... that's what Jesus was talking about and Yoda meant. Is when you're trying to do something, that means that there's a goal to accomplish, and the accomplishing of that goal is way out there, and you got to travel from here to there via this long, arduous path of things that need to get done. And that is awful. That is an experience that most of the time is awful. The reason why it's most of the time awful is because when you're trying to do something, what you're doing right now is not what you're trying to do. It's what you have to do in order to do what you're trying to do. When you are just doing what you want to do while you're doing it, then you're not trying anymore, you know? And when you're in that moment of actually doing, as opposed to trying to do and trying to get somewhere, that is a pure moment. That's a moment where you're not thinking about where this goes after this or what came before this. You're right there doing what you're doing. When you're trying to do something, there's a past and there's a future and there's a goal and there's the arduous path between where you are and where you want to be. When you're just doing, that's all there is. So I'm gonna do my best to stop trying. By which I simply mean being present in this moment. You know, it's not about like just do it. It's not that. It's not that hyped up. You need to just do it. Just get out there and do it. No, it's about doing it. Being in this moment, doing what you're doing, instead of putting the virtue and the reward and the goal 1,000 miles off as something that you're trying to do. You know? I am coding in Python. Well, I'm not trying to build a library that makes tkinter work. I'm doing it because that's what I want to do, so I'm doing it. If I were trying to build a library, then all of this would be the shit that I have to do to build the library. I'm doing this because it's what I want to do. I would be doing this one way or the other. And at the end of the day, I will have a library, you know, and it's already up. It's already up. You can use the, you know, first in, you know, version of the code that's already been written right now at GitHub, ronanpawn/Guiable. But, you know, the journey is what's important because the journey is the actual doing it. Like, what's really important is when there's no journey anymore, and now we're cracking into some Zen territory, you know, because the journey is an idea. You have an idea of a journey. If there's a journey, then there's a here and there's a destination and there's the journey. What you need to do is get rid of the destination, and then all you've got is the journey. But what you need to do after that is get rid of the journey, and then all you have is this moment, right here. No room for anything that isn't this. And that is what is called peace. Holy F-tits. Dramacing 14,000 bits? Indeed. It's a Wednesday Zendnesday. Ah, it is a Wednesday Zendnesday. I didn't realize it was Wednesday, though. I was cracking some Zen down. If you don't try and put in the effort, then it will never happen. As long as you are trying, then what you are trying to do is over there. Just do. Just do what you're doing. Quit trying to do anything. The idea of putting in the effort in order to make something happen, then there's something else that you want to happen that isn't what you're doing right now. That's not right. You know, there may be many steps to a process of doing something. You know, I'm going to build a chair. That means taking the measurements and, you know, getting the lathe out, and there's a lot of steps to that, and then the lacquer and everything. But if every step is building the chair, is what you're doing while you're doing it, if you are doing what you're doing while you're doing it, there's no, I'm trying to build a chair. There's, I'm building a chair. And then you're right there with every step. And if there's a step that you don't want to do, then you're not building a chair anymore. You know, if you get to a step where it's like, I don't want to have to do that, then you either choose to try to build a chair through the not wanting to do this part, or you don't build the chair. And then you go and you do something else. And what I'm saying is, if you spend your life doing instead of trying to do, you will be at peace instead of, you know, big knot in your stomach. Big knot in your stomach that you carry around. About the things that you are trying to do, that you would like to see happen, that you're going for, that you're striving for. I'm trying to climb that mountain. I got to get to the top of that mountain. There is no mountain, okay? There's no top of the mountain. There's no mountain. Quit making mountains and climbing them. Just do what you're doing, all right? You can climb a mountain. Just don't try to climb the mountain. There's no need for that. That's putting an extra mountain in the way of climbing the mountain. And this mountain is the one that you don't want to climb, but you got to climb this one to get to that one. If you don't want to climb the mountain you're climbing, quit climbing the mountain. That's what trying and doing is all about. It's the space between reality. It's this what is and the imaginary space between what is and me. You know, what is over there, and then there's this imaginary space, and then I have to cross this imaginary space to get to over there. No. This is everything. Right here. That over there is right here. All right, now I'm getting too deep into Zen. Now it's a little bit too far. But it's the same concept. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Doing and trying. If you're trying to do something, then what you're trying to do is over there. And then you got to cross all this, broken glass and pits of lava and coals to walk over in order to get to what you're trying to do. But if instead what you're doing is walking over coals, and then what you're doing is climbing through glass, then you will get to where you wanted to be without ever having to want to be there. Without ever having to try to get there. This is getting zenny. I'm going to tune out. Thank you. Thank you, RMJ. It is the pawn month of May telethon. What does to tune out mean, says Scorpion? It means that he's just going to pretend to go away for a little bit and then he'll come right back. I don't think RMJ has ever actually walked away from a Zendnesday rant. Maybe he has. Maybe he has. He doesn't like it for some reason. Like, it's getting all weird and zenny in here. Yeah, because I'm talking about, your life in reality and, like, what we're all fucking up. How we're all beating ourselves up for no reason. In the most illogical and senseless manners. And because everybody's doing it, we all keep doing it. Like, this is just how it's done, right? Just punch myself in the face over and over again. That's what he's doing and she's doing. I shouldn't have demonstrated that so fervently. Ow. But yeah, like, I don't feel like I'm trying to build a library for T. Kinter right now. I'm just building a library for T. Kinter because it's what I want to be doing, so I'm doing it. When I'm doing it, I'm doing it. I'm not thinking about, and at the end of the day, I'll have this, that, and the other thing. In fact, you know what I notice is that when I'm in the program coding, I mean, this is why I have been really, involved in this and enjoying myself so much programming this, is because when I'm here coding this, there's just the code. And there's problems and difficulties and hassles and me going, why isn't that working? And, like walking away and having to come back and laying down at night and just processing it and going, oh, that's what I'll do tomorrow. And then going to sleep, like, happily. Like, there's difficulties. It's not like it's, all easy and there's no frustration or anything like that. But there's, like, the real stress that comes about is when I think about not what I'm doing here, but what I'm going to do after this. Like, while I'm doing this, there's just this, and it's beautiful, and it's enjoyable, and, coming up with the solution to the problem that has arisen before me while I'm building this thing is just fun. And then when I think about, like, what's next after this, where does this go, what else, then I feel like a clench in my stomach. Then I get hesitation. Then I get that shoulders raised and chest kind of tightens up and stuff like that. When I think about what's after, what's next. When I'm here in the moment just doing what I'm doing, it may not be easy. There will be frustrations and difficulties, but I'm completely like I'm one with the difficulties and the frustrations. I'm here doing this. And so, like, being one person who is frustrated with one thing is 1,000% more enjoyable than it is to be, split into multiple people. The one who is working on the thing that you're working, who's doing what you're doing, and the one who's trying to do something else. and the one who's thinking about the thing that'll come after the thing that you're trying to do, you create these like multiple veins of concern and interest, all of which distract you from doing what you're trying to do in the best way that you possibly could. So long as your eyes are on what you're doing and you're completely doing what you're doing, it's there. There's nothing better than that. You can't do better than you're doing. It's when you start looking left, looking right, looking forward, what's off in the distance, what's coming next. Now you've got so many pots going. You got so many burners going. You've just made it harder for you to just do what you're going to do. And you've added all this stress of all these other pots and all these other burners. They're starting to boil over here, this and that and the other thing. You can, despite what modern society and just our lives in general and what the world looks like, especially the post, social media, everybody's got a supercomputer in their pocket world. Despite what it looks like, you can totally just be doing what you're doing when you're doing it and not a million other things. And it doesn't mean it's always got to be just the one thing. You can't ever multitask. You can't, that's what we were doing at the Zen hall when I was training to be a Zen monk. But, it doesn't have to be any one thing. It's just like waking up to the realization that you are at your best and you are also at your greatest sense of peace and just quiet and stillness internally when you are one with whatever it is you're doing. When there is no you doing the thing you're doing. When there's just what you're doing. When there's not even really what you're doing anymore, because it's just you doing it. There's no you and there's no doing it. It's just happening and it just is. There's no self that is an external observer to self that is an external observer to the thing that's being done. It's watching yourself and thinking about how you're doing it and the other and all the different angles. When you're in it, you're just in it. You're just there. And it's not a magical experience. It's not like, well, geez, that sounds crazy. I've never experienced that before. You've experienced it all the time. You just don't notice it because it's not unnatural. It's just something that we do less and less. And something that we should be doing as much as humanly possible. If you really want to, do something well, then you've already screwed up because you're trying to do something well. Quit trying things. And then you can solve it. But, if you do have that goal, which you shouldn't have, of trying to do something well, then what you need to come to is stop trying and stop having goals. And then you will accomplish doing it well. Because there will be nothing but the doing it while you're doing it. It will just be you and it in perfect harmony to where there is no you and there is no it, and it's just being done. The person goes into their garden and, tilling the soil and planting once you've become familiar with the activity, yourself and your questions and your doubts and your ideas of what is coming later and what came before, they all fade away. And you're just working in the garden, and that person kneeling in the soft soil and feeling the silt in their fingernails and just, they're just there. They're nowhere else. There's a reason why people do that, do have little gardens and things like that. There's a reason why it feels special to so many different people to raise their tomato plants in the backyard. And it's not because you get to see them, the life as it grows up and you know that you made it and you get that satisfying accomplishment. It's not that. It's that when you're doing it, you're there. It might be a little bit about that in the beginning. It's just like, wow, I made something and then look at how much it becomes. I just helped it along and it started out this and it's kind of impressive to watch. But in the long term, the reason why you keep doing any activity is because when you're doing it, you're doing it. You're truly right there with it, as opposed to what is going on in most of the rest of your life. That's why certain activities are that's what I like to do. Because when you're doing it, you're completely with it. You got a tabletop gaming, session that you have with friends on a certain weekly basis or a couple of weeks or once a month or something like that. Why do you do it? Because when you show up, you're completely there playing that game with your friends and you're not worried about tomorrow or yesterday or what's in your bank account or what's coming around the corner. You're just there and you're just doing that. And everything else dissolves away. And so you keep doing it because you enjoy it. And the reason why you enjoy it, the reason why you keep coming back to that is because so much else in your life is not that. You're not right there with it. You're not doing what you're doing. You're trying to do something, I'm trying to pay the bills by working at a job that I hate for people who suck. If you stopped trying to pay the bills, then all of the bad shit in the middle would take care of itself. Now, I don't know if you'd pay the bills at the end of the month, but if you believe in Jesus, he said, don't worry about it, God will pay the bills. And if he doesn't, then apparently you needed to scale back your bills. You needed to scale back your lifestyle. But, so much of our lives are filled with the things that we're trying to do and the things that we're doing because we have to do them in order to get to somewhere else that we want to be. I don't want to have to do all these things, but I'm trying to get over there. Well, if you stopped trying to get over there and you just went straight there, then you're done. And you'd say, well, I can't get there from here. Well, then if you cannot, do the things in the middle between here and there and be content in doing them, then maybe you don't actually want to be over there. Because usually the thing that's over there that you have to do all of these things to get to, usually what's over there involves all these things. I want to be a chef. Okay. Wash the dishes. Oh, man, I hate washing dishes. Well, then maybe you don't want to be a chef. Maybe that's not what you want to be in this world. Maybe you just like the idea of being a chef, but if you can't get down with washing some dishes, then you shouldn't be a fucking chef, man. You'd be in kitchens, you're gonna wash a billion fucking dishes as a chef. If you can't get down with spending a year washing dishes as part of your training to be a chef, is trying to prove that you're worthy of the people who are going to train you to be a chef and stuff if you can't do that, if you can't make that commitment and you're not, or rather, it's not that I'm not talking about making commitments. I'm talking about just being there and being content to do that. If you don't see washing the dishes as an integral part of what you want to do in being a chef, then you have discovered early that you actually don't want to be a chef. So stop trying to go somewhere that you don't want to go. Because if the steps between here and there are full of things that you don't enjoy, that you can't connect with, or that you can connect with anything. But if you find that you can't, lose yourself in the act of washing the dishes, then you don't want to be a chef. Or I want to make food, and washing dishes is grunt work and other people should. You don't want to be a chef, man. You're not going to be able to live and work in a kitchen where you don't have to do dishes. I don't care, you're, the master chef, the best chef in the world, you're never going to be in a situation where you're never going to do a dish again. Okay? If the steps to get to what you want to do are something that you don't enjoy, then the thing at the end of all of those steps probably isn't something you're going to enjoy anyway. So go do something that you want to do, that you can just do without having to try to do. That you can just show up to. That's not meant to be heard as, something that you don't have to sacrifice anything for. Although that is exactly what I mean. Language is so tricky when you start getting close to actual truth and Zen topics and stuff. Because that is exactly what I mean. If you have to sacrifice something to get something, you're not doing it right. Because it's not that you have to assume that sacrifice is an objective reality. You have to sacrifice something in order to get to there. But it's not an objective reality. It's a feeling. You feel as though you're sacrificing something. I mean, short of someone saying, I need you to cut your arm off if you want to come through, into the cave here, then you're not sacrificing anything. And by the way, if someone is asking you to cut your arm off in order to come into the cave, do it because it's Bodhidharma and he's going to teach you, he's going to enlighten you. He's going to enlighten you by realizing that you didn't sacrifice anything by cutting your arm off. He didn't ask. He didn't ask for the dude to cut his arm off. Dude cut his arm off and brought it to Bodhidharma and said, "Here, I cut my arm off. Will you talk to me now?" Just to shock him into going, "Okay, now you're interesting. What do you want to know?" Sorry, Zen stories. Zen stories. Let the teachings of Jesus come to my son. Behold, I shall lay hands on you. Kneel down before me. I want you to say the Lord's Prayer, and also clap your hands together 7 times and spit out your nose as good as you can. I'm going to heal you of the psoriasis today. Germasian, Scorpion, RMAJ, if you're still lurking. Whoever else may still be lurking. I'm going to call it a live stream. I'm done doing what I was doing. And now I'm going to go do something else. Seriously, like, it all ties together. Everything that I've talked about today, right back to the fucking YouTube CMS copyright stuff. Like, what are you trying to do? You know, the people who are, you know, I don't want to focus on Josh Woodward here because he's a pretty good guy. It's just, and he's made some really good choices about sharing his music, but I'm just a little bit shocked that it fell out the way that it did with him. But, you know, the question is for Josh is, what are you trying to do in, you know, registering your music as part of the content matching system on YouTube and letting YouTube claim other people's videos on your behalf? What is it that you're trying to do? Because if you weren't trying to do anything, then you wouldn't be hurting anyone. You know, you wouldn't be stealing anyone else's copyright in the act of trying to protect your own copyright, which you're doing because you're trying to what? And in that situation, I'm not even sure what Josh is trying to do. I don't know that he knows that what he's trying to do, but I think he's fallen into the same sort of situation that so many of us have, where we don't really know what we're trying to do, but we're just doing it because it's what people do. You know, it's like, everybody else does that thing, so now I'm going to do that thing. It's important that you know what you're trying to do so that you can stop trying to do it and do it. I like that. Let's end on that. I am the Ronin Pawn, and you're listening to the Freak Fandango Orchestra's At the Beginning from their album Tales of a Dead Fish. I've used their music as my intros and outros for years now because they just give it away for free. And it's good, fun music that I enjoy and that I want to share with other people, and they have made it possible. Why? Because they're not trying to do something with their music. They're not trying to make money. They're not trying to become famous. They're doing music. And thank God that they have. I hope to see you back here this Friday at 4 p.m. I am the Ronin Pawn. Pawn out!